everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, your favorite financial analyst, and today is the third installment of the series that I started here on my YouTube channel titled Monologue Monday. Before I get into the video, I did want to thank the previous viewers of episode 1 and then episode 2 of Monologue Monday. I hope you were able to take something away from those two videos, and the same goes for this episode as well. So with that being said, let's get into the topic for today's video. Okay, so as you were probably able to see from the title of this video, the question that I want to talk about, or the topic that I want to talk about on this episode of Monologue Monday, was presented to me in a question from someone that reached out who just wanted a little bit of advice. And they basically said, Noah, I love your videos. Well, they didn't say that, but they said, I want to know at what point financially should I move out of my parents' home? Is it, do I need a certain amount of my savings? Do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need this? At what point should I move out? And I wanted to give them, obviously it's difficult to provide a very in-depth answer without doing a kind of a formal analysis and, kind of having a discussion with them on what they want and and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to provide them with a answer that they could kind of apply to their day-to-day life, something that they could use, without having to spend a lot of time on research and all that kind of stuff. So I took their question back and I ruminated on it for a little while, and essentially what I did was I came up with four different categories, or four different topics that I personally believe need to be fulfilled in their entirety before someone should consider moving out of their house. And I kind of broke down each of these categories to the individual, and I kind of explained my thought process behind them. And it's something that I still, I still think back on today. And I think it's a very good point to, the four categories are really good points to start thinking about if you are looking to, take the move out of your hometown, your home state, or, even your home country. So I want to talk about, each of these four categories, progressively here. So the first one that I landed on was in regards to a 401k plan. I've made previous videos talking about, the significance of the 401k and, how significant even just the matching amounts of money can be from that are provided from your employer. So I'm not going to go into great depth about that, but we all know, right? You put money from your paycheck into the account, it builds and it builds and builds. And, by the time you're ready to retire, you have a large lump sum of cash. Well, it won't be cash. It'll be electronic money, right? That you can pull out from, and then you can spend, throughout your retirement until you die, right? And that's what it is, right? But my criteria for the 401k is not just having a 401k. My criteria, the first criteria that needs to be fulfilled in full, is maxing out your 401k, or more specifically, being in a financial position where you can afford to max out your 401k balance on an annual basis. The amount that you can put into a 401k does tend to change, year to year, or, whatever it may be. I don't have all the data on that, but I do know that in 2023 it was 22,500, and I believe in 2024 it's going to be 23,000 that can be contributed between yourself and your employer combined, right? So this includes the amount of free money that your employer is going to give you as well. So it's a decent chunk of change, right? But if you want, to have a really solid retirement, maxing out this retirement account, I think, is pretty much essential, and that's why I thought it would be wise to suggest that if you're not in or one of the categories that you need to complete is being able to fully contribute that maximum amount on a year-to-year basis. So that brings us to the second category, or the second topic that I think people really need to take full advantage of, or be able to take full advantage of prior to moving out. And that is very similar to the first one, very similar to the 401k, traditional 401k, but it is the Roth IRA or Roth 401k. Essentially, it's very similar to, a 401k in that you put money into it, it builds up, and when you retire, you pull money from it. The only difference between the two is that a Roth account is going to be funded through post-tax dollars. So you are going to need to use take-home income, actual money that's going into your, direct deposited into your savings or checkings, and that money is going to have to get routed into the Roth account, generally speaking. The pros of this are that the amount that you withdraw when you retire is going to be tax-free. And this is hugely important because this isn't really the place for this video, but generally speaking, when you retire, you want to have multiple areas. I think at minimum probably two to pull money from in order to fund your retirement. And it's not a wise decision to have it all in a taxable account. It's nice to have the bulk in maybe a taxable account, but then a decent chunk in a non-taxed account. So that way, when you need to, pull a certain amount, whatever it is, you can take a little bit from your taxable account and then take a little bit from your non-taxable account to ease your tax burden. And paying taxes is something that we don't like to do now while we're working. So what makes you think you'd want to do it when you're retired as well? So this is the criteria for the second category here, the Roth IRA. Is the same, being in a position to maximize the amount that you contribute on an annual basis, and the amount that you can contribute does tend to change on a year-to-year basis as well, at least to my knowledge. For an example, 2023 was 60, or 2023 was, I think, 7,000 maybe that you could put in, and then 2024 I believe is maybe 7,500. But regardless of what it is, being able to have the residual income, right? Being able to take money from your take home and then put it into this account in full every single year is something that I believe is absolutely essential before even really thinking about moving to different areas and taking on other debt. So now that brings us to our third category. And this one is a little bit different from the first two, but it's something that I think is almost as important. And this is health insurance, or just insurance in general, that involving your body. But what I basically mean by this is that if you need to be able to insure yourself at whatever job or whatever position you're in, whether you get insurance through your company or you have to go private, because of the nature of your work, being able to fully cover yourself, right? Dental, vision, and regular healthcare is absolutely essential. It's going to help you in so many ways, even if you're not, using the insurance. And, granted, no one really wants to use it, but there's a certain amount of mental stability and confidence that comes with knowing that if something were to happen, you are covered, right? At least to a certain extent. So if you are currently not in a position where you can, opt into, healthcare benefits and dental benefits and vision benefits through your employer, I definitely wouldn't, consider, taking on a move or anything like that. Okay, so now that brings us to our fourth and final category that I personally believe is absolutely essential to nail, basically, to ensure that you're hitting before you consider moving somewhere and taking on more debt and responsibility, and that is savings goals. And what I mean by this is essentially, if you set goals, for your annual saving, for example, maybe your goal is an extra $10,000 a year just in your savings account, and you're not able to reach that, I think you are definitely in a position to not to pretty much stay back, right, until you are comfortably hitting that goal. Now, this is a little bit subjective, right? Because there's a fair argument to say, well, if my goal is $1,000, I could easily do that, and that's completely fair. Although it's difficult, right? It's a difficult topic because $1,000 versus $10,000 is quite the difference. So if we know anything about, if any kind of emergencies happen and so on, you're going to want to be on the path to be saving $10,000 a year, right, versus $1,000. So essentially, the fourth and final category, simply put, is basically, are you able to fulfill a reasonable savings goals on an annual basis consistently? So those essentially were the four categories that I kind of talked about to this individual when they asked me, at what point should I move out? And I really like this list of four that I created here, because it really gives you a sense of security, not only now, right, with having insurance and having being able to save a consistent amount on an annual basis, but it also gives you the security for the future, right? Being able to maximize those two retirement accounts or retirement avenues is absolutely huge, for us as individuals, right? The amount of burden that takes off of our shoulders about thinking about, how much money needs to go where, and am I on track or whatever. If you're on that path and you're maxing out those two accounts on an annual basis, you're going to be sitting really, really well. Now, of course, there are going to be caveats to this, and I do want to discuss them, right? So an example would be, well, Noah, I'm taking a job, and I'm going to be making a lot more, right? So shouldn't I just take it, if I'm making more? And the answer, quite honestly, is, well, maybe. It depends, is maybe a better answer, because I've seen many times, people will take a job that was an extra $5,000, an extra $8,000, and at the end of the year, they didn't see that money, or they saw very little of it, right? Because what happens is, you go up a tax, or your taxable income increases. You might go up a tax bracket, perhaps, if it's a big enough raise, but essentially, you're going to be taxed more, and if you have more expenses, depending on where you move, that can come out of that extra income, right? So it really depends. Now, the best thing to do, if you're in the boat where you say, okay, well, I'm not meeting those four categories or those four topics that you mentioned, but I think I will with this new position. Should I take it? The best thing that you could do is kind of lay everything out on paper and see, what it would look like, right? What your net income, right? Your take home income would be after, contributing, to the maximum amount to your 401k, your take home minus the amount that you need to contribute to the Roth account. Your looking at your pay stub and seeing, what your take home would look like after your health, after you opt in for healthcare and dental and vision and so on. And then from there, looking at, extra income that you could put into your savings, right? So after you look at all of that and the numbers still make sense, and you can put your savings goals, you have enough money for your savings goals, you can do the healthcare, you can maximum out both those accounts, and you still have enough money, to afford a place to live and food to eat and so on, then yeah, I believe, you're probably in a good state to take that move. But without first fulfilling those first four categories, prior to moving, I think it's, generally a pretty big risk, and not financially the best decision to, to go out to a different area and potentially take on quite a bit more debt. So another example here would be, Noah, I'm in a position where I'm doing, 2 or 3 out of the 4, right? So maybe I'm maxing my 401k, as you suggest. I'm maxing my Roth IRA. I also, make sure that I have healthcare, but I don't really get to save much, right? I save, very little, and my other take home, income is kind of, tied down to eating and, all of, my car or whatever it may be. In that case, I would definitely suggest kind of trying to get a hold of, your finances, either working with someone like myself or, another analyst that will go through all of your finances and then help you kind of get onto a track where you can continue doing, your 401k, you can continue doing your Roth, you can continue, having your healthcare, and then finally you can, get to a savings goal amount that you can hit very, very consistently. And of course, the most important example is, Noah, I'm doing 4 out of 4, right? I'm doing the Roth, I'm doing the IRA or the 401k. I have my health insurance, and I have my savings goals. And the issue would be if at the end of the day you don't have anything to take home right after that, right? So it's great that you're hitting all 4, and that's something you should be doing, but we don't want to rely on pulling all of our spending money from our savings account, right? That defeats the purpose. That's why it's called a savings account, for us not to touch. So at the end of the day, you need to complete all 4, or it's ideal to, in my opinion. And then you also need some residual income to spend, on life, right? If you were to move, you'd need, rent money, you'd need food money and gas and, entertainment, whatever it is. So if you're in a position where, you're hitting all 4 of these check marks, these different categories, but you don't have any extra money, things aren't going to really work for you either. Right now, there is the exception of you're hitting all 4 of these marks, and then you're taking a position where you're getting, a raise, a significant raise, and that will be your extra money. The important thing to note would be, well, how much is that extra money going to be after taxes and everything, and is that going to be enough to support your lifestyle, right? Because the last thing that you want is to get there and then have to start reducing the amount that you can save or contribute to your retirement accounts to just fund your living, right? Fund for your rent and your eating and so on. So that was essentially the answer that I provided to this individual that was kind of inquiring about, when the proper time would be to, to take that first step and move out of the family home over to a new state, over to a new city, whatever it may be. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think of my list? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it horrible? Please let me know in the comments below. So there we go. That concludes the 3rd installment of Monologue Monday. I hope you were able to take at least something away from this video here. And as always, if you have any questions for me personally, or if you'd like to take a look at the financial services that I can provide to you, I've left my email and a link to my company website in the description box below. As always, thank you so much for your time, and happy financing.